So this screencast gives you a description and explanation of the second big assignment, the qualitative assignment, or what I may call the interview assignment. You'll see that the main difference between the first assignment, we did the survey, and this assignment, the interview, is how people answer questions. In the survey assignment, very quantitative, you gave them scales or had them check boxes or circle numbers. You forced them to answer a certain way, scale of 1 to 10, or strongly agree, disagree, what have you. Here, you ask people questions, and you better be ready to do a lot of writing. So these are very much open-ended questions. Yes, you can do open-ended questions in a quantitative survey, but normally the interview is where you just let people talk. You ask them questions, and you let them talk. So you're going to interview 2 people. Now here, you can see the due date. Here I say you can do either a smoker, non-smoker, or parent, non-parent. If you want to do something else, let me know right away. I had one student who worked in a prison, and she got permission to interview a prisoner and a non-prisoner. The purpose is you're going to interview people from 2 different areas or backgrounds or situations. I mean, it could be an MU fan, KU fan. It could be Republican, Democrat. It could be male, female. Any 2 different, opposite, if you will, groups of people. So what you want is an overarching question. So let's say that your research question, let's say that I do the smokers. My overarching question could be, what impacts people's smoking behaviors? Now, my overarching question would not be, why do people smoke? Because one person you interview is a non-smoker, so that wouldn't work. So your overarching question has to be broad enough to encompass 2 opposite types of people. What impacts people's fertility decisions? You have a parent, you have a non-parent. What impacts people's interest in politics? You interview a Republican and Democrat, things like that. So you interview 2 people. 30 minutes should be enough. If you want to go longer, fine. If this was something you're trying to publish, then you want to spend hours, an hour, 2 or 3 with each person. But for this interview assignment, I would think a half hour per person would be fine in terms of getting the information that you want to get. So your main theoretical question, that's what I've been calling your overarching question. What is the ultimate thing about which you want to know? What affects people's fertility decisions? What affects people's smoking behaviors? So once you have that down, then you develop your research instrument, your questions, the questions you ask each person. You'll ask person A 5 questions and person B 5 questions. Here, what you might want to do is just bring blank sheets of paper with you, at least 5, if not more. And on the top of each one, write the question that you want to ask each person. So if my overarching research question is, what affects people's smoking behaviors? Then I'm going to ask each person 5 questions. The answers to those 5 questions will let me get back to talking about people's smoking behaviors. So I might ask them about money. Can they afford to smoke or not? I might ask them about peer pressure. I might ask them about how they deal with stress. I could ask them about what their parents did. So the questions you ask the person during the interview will enable you to answer your main theoretical question. So again, ask each person 5 questions. Don't ask yes/no questions unless you probe. In fact, just try and avoid simple yes/no questions because what you don't want is short answers in this. So ask them questions that they'll give a good answer to, a long answer to. I'll tell you what I mean by long answer in a sec. So anyway, I give you some more examples here about probing. Well, okay, let's talk about probing. And in fact, let me go down. Now this rule of thumb right here is just something I'm developing for this assignment. There really is no right or wrong in terms of this is something you're publishing. What you want is answers that are as long and thorough as possible. Okay, but for this assignment, I want you to get some sense of long, thorough answers. Well, how do you know if the answer that people gave you was long enough? 7 lines. So you need to take notes by hand. No taking notes on computers, because and the reason I do that is historically people have done this by hand. Yes, we have computers and such now. You can record things, with all technology now. But oh, by the way, if you do want to record what the person says, get permission and then destroy the recording afterwards. But you need to be writing things down during the interview. So you might want to record and then go back to things afterwards. You don't have to, but you can. But you need to do things by hand because there may be times if you're doing this, say, for a project or something else outside this class where you're talking to someone and you don't have anything with you to record, or to type, you just have a pencil and a piece of paper. So I'm going to want to see your original handwritten notes. And so if a given answer to a given question is less than 7 lines long in terms of your regular handwriting, 7 regular lines, then you probe. So if you're asking me a question, you're interviewing me, and you ask me about whatever it is, and I say, yeah, that's okay, and that's all I say, you want to probe. Well, what do you mean, or how so, or could you further explain? So you ask person A 5 questions and person B 5 questions. Probes are not counted as unique questions. So if you ask me a question about my thoughts on smoking, I might say, yeah, I don't like it. Well, that's clearly less than 7 lines long. So you'd say, well, why not? And I'd talk some more. If after you're probing, I still don't say a whole lot, you're fine. What I'm going to look for when I grade you is each answer to each question at least 7 lines long? If not, did you probe? I don't care how long it is as long as you've probed. If the first thing the person says is maybe 3 words long and then your probe gives you 2 more sentences, that's fine. I'm not going to punish you for something that the person did or did not want to do. But if your initial response is less than 7 lines long of your regular handwriting, then probe, ask another question. So you might actually have to probe 5 times for each question. Some of you will have to probe a lot, some not a lot. You choose to interview people that you know. This will certainly be non-random. So if you want to interview parents or friends or colleagues or spouses or whatever, has to be adult, okay, 18 or older. So please keep that in mind. Here's the steps to conducting your interview. What's your topic, your theoretical question? We've talked about that. What questions you're going to ask each person, find the 2 people, and then you administer the interview itself. So what I'll do is I will stop at this point here, and then I'll go on to the next screencast and talk about the kind of notes you'll need to take, because there are different, we'll talk about the actual things that you need to turn in the next screencast.